This episode is brought to you by Jing's Mortgage Team. Jing's Mortgage Team is a team of real estate mortgage professionals whose mission is to help anyone with their real estate needs. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, refinance your home, have credit issues, or in need of an investment loan, we can definitely help you. If you're looking for a real estate agent, we know the best of the best real estate agents. Visit the link below for more information. All right, Paula, David, it's
Thank you,
an
Hamilton.
absolute
Pleasure.
honor for you guys to come on Secret Sauce with Hamilton Lau. I love to interview interesting people like you who are leaders in your industry. Specifically, what fascinates me is you've been in this industry for a very long time, and you guys are a two-generational company that bounce ideas off each other, and it's like you pivot with the times in a way. And I think
Definitely.
it's definitely without giving it away, sort of a secret sauce in a way. So I think what I think you guys are successful. But of course, I know there's a whole lot to it that make you guys so successful. But welcome, thank you again for coming on Secret Sauce.
Thank you and Jing for having us. And I just want to say, out of many of the mortgage people that we've met through the years, you guys are very, very dynamic and progressive, and we really appreciate the opportunity. So we really look forward to doing more business with you. Thank you.
I think success, is not industry specific. I think success is just, a way of thinking for everybody. And it doesn't matter what kind of industry, right? Like whether it's Michael Jordan, basketball, or Wayne Gretzky. Sports just coming in my head right now. Wayne Gretzky in hockey, or Tony Hawk in skateboarding. I think there's consistent traits that make successful people successful, and I love to try and mine those jewels, especially for different industries. So for you guys to come on, it's an honor for me because it's just an interesting, great dynamic that you guys have that I love to dive into because it is. How long have you been in the real estate industry?
40 years.
40 years, young, right, in the industry. And it's not easy, especially in the crazy market, all the crazy markets that you've seen. And I'm sure you've seen it as well. When the market is good, everybody wants to join. But when the market is bad, suddenly a huge percentage leave the industry. And, it's like the people that know to evolve and grow. Those are the people that survive. And to me, when I first met you guys, I can understand the evolution process in how progressive you guys think. So I'm super excited to have you guys on. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
To kind of
Thank you.
Peel back the curtain on what makes you guys successful. Again, thank you infinitely.
Thank
worry
you.
about it.
Thank you, Hamilton.
So
This is great.
I wanted to let's start from the beginning. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys got started in the industry?
Yes, I started in 1983 out of college, not knowing what to do for a job, which I'm sure a lot of college graduates are faced with when you have a degree and you're qualified to do really nothing. And that's really, a challenge, I think, for a lot of people. I did not go to school for real estate, although you can major in real estate these days. I have a big BS in business management from St. John's University. Okay, so I wound up with an interview with a commercial real estate company in Lower Manhattan. Knew nothing about commercial real estate, nothing about Lower Manhattan, but you learn. So I really took that corporate real estate, commercial real estate, and I moved into corporate because commercial is very challenging. And let's not forget the year. It was 1983, and it was a very male-dominated world in Lower Manhattan, especially Wall Street area. And I remember having people tell me, you don't know anything because you have no gray hair. Seriously, the guy told me that once. I was like, okay. And then somebody else said, well, you're younger than me. You don't know anything. So when you have a lot of people saying this to you, that gets in your head, and there's so much negative experiences with real estate. When you talk about what makes you successful, I was lucky enough to be born under the sun sign, so I'm a Leo. And I apologize for that in many ways. And unfortunately, David has to live with a Leo, and so does my husband. But,
Jing's a Leo too, by the way.
oh, wow,
So
okay.
I get it.
Yes, so you do.
I love you guys.
I didn't know we were going to zodiac signs here,
Yes,
but
but
all
I
right.
think that has something to do with it because I've always been a very optimistic, person, and my dad was that way. So I think that I'm a lot of my father because he was a salesperson in a different industry entirely. He did a car upholstery, but he had to get people into the shop so that he could sell them further. And that's what it's really all about. Impress people on the phone and of course in person, and then they'll like you, trust you, feel they're the advisor, and then that's how it works.
Wow, I gotta say, I love that account because there's so many jewels that I love to ask you some questions on. Real estate is interesting because you have people that are good at it, right? But truthfully, there's no master book on how to really be successful at it because otherwise everybody would do it, right?
Correct.
So it's like you're kind of going in there with a general rough outline on what you can do, but then it's like, especially after college, it's like who do you really go to, and how do you bounce back from that kind of negativity, especially since you don't have this past experience,
Right.
in real estate, and you meet these people that are kind of like, some young girl from fresh out of college is like looking to be successful in this. It's like they themselves are trying to be successful. It's like who does this person think they are?
Right.
So I'd love to ask you a follow-up question on, when you did encounter that, what was it? And again, I'm sure our viewers encounter that as well. I'm sure we all have. What was your secret, I guess, or what helped you overcome that negativity?
Well, I think that the most important thing in any business or any profession is education. And I'm a firm believer in always trying to learn new things. And as the business has changed in many, many ways through the years, I always try to be on top of the curve, so to speak. Now, when you take your real estate class, whether it be online or in person, and I highly recommend in person because they will teach towards the class and tell you the little tips and tricks of what will be on the test. And you take that class and you pass the test, you really don't know real estate. And that's the unfortunate part. I've heard that other professions are the same, medical field and everything. You come out and you don't know what to do. Now, my son may be able to elaborate a little bit more on this too, David, because,
You both took the test in different times. Right?
well, of course, and I don't forget, I took the test. We didn't have to have all the hours that we have now. It was a 45-hour instead of 75-hour back then. So, in a way, agents are a little more qualified. And don't forget, this son of mine has been hearing about real estate since he can hear as a
Yeah.
young child, so it's kind of been ingrained in him.
So I wound up taking that test. I think it was 2014 and 15 originally. I did it online twice, failed it twice. And I don't care telling people I failed it. I think everybody's going to fail it at least once. I know people who fail it 8 times, and they make a lot of money now. Mm-hmm. So they're very good at it. The test, in my opinion, is not so much how real estate works in the industry, regardless of what state you're in the US. Now, it's so that you can just get the license. When I did it in person, I retained more. It was a very good teacher down on Prince Street and by Flushing. Just thank God it was just 2 blocks off of Main Street. I would never have found parking. But the third time I took it and did the course, then I retained everything. But here's the thing. I've been listening since 10 or 13 because it's, lack of a better terms, like I said earlier, jammed down my throat. It's just I've been around it for so long, and I just know how. Here's the funny thing: I know how to sell. I know how to show a home, regardless of how I show up. If I show up like this, tattoos or a button-down shirt, looking nice, that actually won't make a difference. Most of the time, if it's a buyer with an agent, I don't even bring a piece of paper because I have memorized everything about the home, and I know how to present it and sell it verbally, and then how to take you through it. So don't think that by taking the test, and yes, 75 hours is a lot. And especially now with New York State laws that we have to, for the test, no mortgage. but then we're not legally allowed to say a lot of things about mortgage. I think it's a waste of time within the teaching when it could be towards something more beneficial of real estate selling as a salesperson or sales agent, however
Exactly.
it's told
Exactly.
now.
We're not lawyers, we're not mortgage people. You know, we don't want to touch on anything that is not our business. People will ask us for legal advice. I said, please talk to your lawyer. How about a tax advice? Talk to your accountant, CPA. That's not what we do. So I'm never going to take over your business and say, oh, yes, the rates went up to X amount today. I said, talk to someone. What's my monthly payment going to be? They used to teach us how to do that, and I know agents would spend tons of time doing that in the office. What's my monthly payment? Sorry, I'm not going to do that, because there may be things in your history or in your personal financial life that you're going to know, and I'm not going to know how to approach. So that's what he's, touching on there, and I
I
think that's
think
important.
when it comes to, I mean, think of it this way. Last year we did 23, maybe more sales with just 2 people. And when you look at that number, 23 with just 2 people, and the typical length and the issues you run into selling homes in New York, that's actually a lot for just 2 people.
For 2022, 23 is a great number, especially
Yeah.
for the market that we experienced last year.
Oh, yeah.
So like, as I was mentioning before, like this is, it's an honor to have you guys on, because it's like, while last year almost 50%, I think we mentioned this before, almost 50% of real estate agents didn't renew their license.
Right.
Just because, I don't know what it was. I would fathom a guess that maybe they don't evolve or evolve oriented mentality,
Yes.
or a pivot mentality, or they just got in for, get rich quick type of a mentality, right? But
For
the
the
people
kicks,
that are
yeah.
here to stay, they got something set up. They have, a system that they've figured out. And again, I don't feel that it's some kind of a magic formula. It's maybe a magical way of thinking, and that's kind of, again, why it's so I'm so happy to have you guys on and talk a little bit about this.
Thank you.
No,
Well,
I think you're
you
right
hit,
in
you
that.
hit on something.
It's how you think, because
Right.
right now, think of it this way, because of the interest rate increases, and they're exponential this year, and you're saying that more than half have not renewed. It's because how me and her are thinking, we have to hunker down.
Right.
We have to not only watch our personal spending, it's our advertising, it's what we can do and shell out. And I think a lot of the times when we go into a listing, the reason why people sell with us and list with us is because, all right, let's say you have another team that does a little more volume, more people on the team, but you get a very personalized experience with us. Like we really do cater to you. And I think that's the other thing too. I mean, I understand commercial with or even residential in Manhattan space, where it's very much more business in the sense of there's not that much of a personal touch. Within the part of Queens that we do, it is very much a personal touch, and we do cater
Absolutely.
to the sellers and trying to make it as easy as possible. Because a lot of people selling their homes in this generation now aren't realistically buying, are not people my age because of the hike increases. It's actually sellers who something personalized has happened, where it might be a loss of a spouse or some type of family thing going on, whatever that may be. And sometimes you have to tiptoe, and you have to have a lot of finesse and decorum when it comes to dealing with situations like that. But then there's also the times where she will butt heads with me, and I go, we should pick and choose. Because if we know the market, I mean, I've been doing it it's 1 year shy of 10 years, and then she's got 40.
Yeah.
If someone is going to keep telling us, and this is how I feel about it, if someone's going to keep telling us, well, my home's worth another $300K, when the market is saying something different, and we have proof of that, and we're still trying to get the best market price, I think we should be picky about who we work with.
Right.
Because no matter what you do in life, the amount of money you make, you never get the time back.
Right. Well, that's the thing. And when we do find ourselves sometimes very frustrated, as recently as yesterday, with folks that are just going to drive you up the wall. And that's, something that I think my husband is also licensed, and he's in a different end of the professional. He's in the finance end. And he said, how do you deal with these people? And I said, that's what we get paid for.
Yeah.
We're all about personalities. We're all about the ups and downs in people's lives. And we have to literally hold their hand.
Yeah.
In this case, it's probably going to be 9, 10 months by the time we're done with them. So that's a long time. And I think that, I think it's great because I've really become good friends with a lot of these people, good contacts, keeping in touch with them, even if they move out of state, because they value our advice. Because I don't want you to just know me and like me, I want you to trust me. Most people, their home is their most valuable asset. So you're taking a lot of your money and putting it in our hands and trusting us. So I have to do the best darn job that we possibly can. So when I was working out of my house back in the 90s and the kids were small, I said, how am I going to be better than the average agent? I want to be better than the average agent. I want to be the best agent that I could possibly be. That to me was education. So I got a GRI. GRI is Graduate of Realtor Institute. I wanted letters after my name. I saw people that were very, very successful that had letters after their name. How do I get those letters? So I got my GRI. Then I've got my SRES, which is the Senior Real Estate Specialist, which helps you deal with seniors' issues and problems. Then I received a CRS, which is Council of Residential Specialists. You'll notice that all of these things have nothing to do with commercial real estate. I do dabble a little bit in commercial. I know a lot about commercial real estate, but I've kind of stepped away from that because I think that through the years between the commercial and then the corporate, I went into residential when I had my first child back in the early 90s, and I found that residential was like my happy place. And I did really well with it on a personal level with people and getting to know them and all that. And
but I gotta ask you though, before we get to the happy
was
place,
good.
because that's a very important point that you make. When we talk about circling back at the education piece, I think a lot of people do badmouth, including me. I'm guilty of it. Do badmouth, the like a business degree, because a lot of people say, "Hey, just go do it. Just go do it." But then at the same time, that financial background, that financial way of thinking, it is a little bit, I would argue, a little bit of an advantage because you're kind of at least being exposed to different business theory and getting like a business sense. Because this idea of education, sure, it is kind of cliche at this point, right? Everybody's like, get your education, always look to learn more. It's an easy concept, but it's not simple.
right. And I really think that it is actually a lot more than just a little bit important. And the reason that I say that is because when I had my business classes, one of the two classes that I hated the most was accounting. And I was glad that I took Accounting 101, 102, because I realized I would be terrible at accounting. That's what my husband does. I'm terrible at it. Don't go there. So I even had a part-time job when I was in college doing some books in the neighborhood. And I remember the lady yelling at me and saying, you keep mixing up the numbers. And I'm like, I'm really terrible at this. I suck at this. I'm awful at this. Stay away from this field. So, you get into something that really is more for your personality, and that's what it's all about. And when you talk about the education, then we had business law, which was very interesting to me. I came out of college, did some corporate, really was the commercial real estate I was in at the time in Lower Manhattan. And I remember going back to St. John's and speaking to somebody in the business law school. And I said to him, I'm thinking about becoming a lawyer, but I'm doing this, and that, and I'm really kind of happy about it. What do you think about me being a lawyer? And he's listening to me talk and everything. And he said, honestly, if you're happy with what you're doing, I guess he maybe hit on my personality. And he said, don't go to law school, honey. I went, thank you. But I found out that I'm not a detail-oriented person by nature. And I would rather just skip to the end, okay? And I want the punchline.
I can verify that.
Yes, he knows. I'll fast track through the whole thing. They call it getting to yes. That's Paula, getting to yes. But in order to slow me down and make me go through all the steps that I have to go through for every single transaction and thing that we have to do, I've created systems. When I started my company out of the house, I was PCA Realty, and it was really, really hard because nobody was telling me what to do. When I was in corporate and commercial real estate, I had no mentor. So that is really important, that somebody has a mentor. Now they call them teams. There were no real estate teams back then. So things have really evolved in the business. The business is completely different even than what it was 5 years ago. What do I mean? Well, 5 years ago we weren't as into, I would say, the social media, and you got to get your name out there. I don't want to be a commercial. Okay, I didn't sign up to be an actress. I want to sell real estate. But that's what you have to do nowadays. You got to get in front of the camera and all these things that make me really, really crazy nervous. But that's how you get people to know you, like you, trust you. And I feel the same way. I'm the first one that clicks on the video and anything that I want to look into or buy, right? We all do that. So that's really, really important these days. But to get people to know what we do, we actually take our little systems list and we put it in a listing presentation. Because everybody thinks that, hey, we put the sign in the ground, we put it on the multiple listing, and we're going to sell your house. Absolutely false.
Right.
Absolutely false. There's so much to it. I had a lady come into my office. She was a very successful professional. She was a manager in whatever company. She was an office manager with a number of people under her. She sat at my first meeting. She passed her test. She was so happy to be a real estate agent. And at the end of the meeting, she came to me and she said to me, I can't do this. I said, what do you mean? She goes, there's just so much more to this than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be showing houses. Everyone thinks that we show houses for a living. That's about 1/10 of what we do, okay? It's a very, very small part of what we do every day.
Would you say that a big part of what you do is a sense of like a social work or therapy? Or
Yes.
A big portion. Not all.
Not
like,
necessarily. I
yeah.
think that the biggest, most important part of what we do is negotiation.
Wow.
Negotiating and people. Just being able
Managing
to deal
people.
with people.
Managing personalities.
Personalities
Yeah.
of people.
Let's say that.
And don't forget, we've had people that looked at the seller and go, I don't want to buy this house because of them. I've had that happen to me. And I go, calm down, relax. They don't come with the house. Okay? You will live here with your family. They don't come with the house. We've had that several times.
We've had that with sellers too, and I go, what does it matter? You won't be here ever again. You are going 1,000 miles away.
It's almost too much personality in this business.
Yeah.
You want to bring it down to a business level. Okay? It's not always about the money, but sometimes they look at the buyer and go,
Navigating, finding that fine line between
Personalities.
business and that personality.
Yeah.
Almost like you've given like social work.
Right. You're almost like a shrink.
You're almost like a shrink.
Right.
In a
I'm
way,
an actor.
Right? It's like-
I'm an actress. I'm a shrink. I'm a financial person. I'm a lawyer. I can't be all these things. So I will bring it back to the things that we really can control. Please speak to your lawyer. Please speak to your accountant, like I said before, and we will manage the parts that we really can manage.
What's really funny in the way of social, you keep saying social work, and one of the ones that she hit was actor. I think it's very heavily both. And I don't mean actor in the way of you're manipulating to get the deal.
Sure.
No, I mean you're playing a character that can be on both sides and really navigate the sale and the negotiations so that it makes everything stress-free for, let's say, your buyer, or if you are your buyer's agent or a selling agent. I mean, just recently, about a year ago, my friend's mother has known me for 15 years. They sold their home in Queens and they wanted to go to Long Island. And we finally found a home that they liked. But the first home I took her into, and my friend didn't get out of the car, he goes, I already don't like it. I go, all right, you be that way. Let's go, Fina, let's go. And I go to show the home. The minute the door opened, I'm talking very normally today. I'm cutting out the slang, but I went to my real estate voice, my real estate tone, my words changed. We get out. She goes to talk to her son. She's smoking a cigarette, and she goes, that's not you. I've known you. I've known you a long time. Who was that? And I go, that's me for my job.
Yeah.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that because a lot of people have that, you're salespeople, just like a car salesman. Car salesmen have always had bad reps because of whatever. Yeah. We're not doing that. I'm not looking to deceive you in any way. I'm putting on this act because
Professional.
I'm being professional, but the act is catered to what, within the first couple of minutes, I picked up on your personality. So, because again, I think the other thing that you haven't talked about yet is when we meet these people, we have to have a basic understanding of them very quickly to read them.
Right.
if you can't read that person and how they're going to behave, I do think you will get lost or won't say, like, get the listing or be able to appease your buyer.
Yeah, I think what's consistent with the agents that I do speak with, successful ones, is that people person component. Almost shrink like the therapy, the social work component, because as you were mentioning before with your husband, right? I think certain people. I don't think real estate's for everybody. I think certain people, especially the competitive people that kind of just want to are self-focused on their own abilities. Don't really want to work with teams or other people. I don't know if they necessarily be the best fit for real estate industry. I don't know if you agree or not. But
Absolutely.
Because it's like there's so many personalities that you got to work with, and you have to negotiate, and you have to kind of know how to talk to different kinds of people, right? Because that accidental slip up of something that you shouldn't have said, even if it's not that the best intentions, and it would potentially kill a deal, right? And it's a lot of money on the table, So it's like it seems to be a consistent factor here that at least an observation that I want to make, that you guys are extremely personable people. Like I want to say this. I want to add this to your point. It's like people think salespeople are nice because they're in sales, but I would actually, I completely disagree with that, and even argue the opposite. Right? Nice people happen to be in sales, and that's what makes them successful.
I actually think it's different. See, nice to me is just being very, let's say, affable towards each other and kind. I think the really successful people are the people that are kind, because I don't have to be nice to you to be a kind person.
Right.
I can be however I want, but if I see something and I just go, all right, here you go, whatever, this might help you. That's kindness. Nice.
You can see we're a little different. Yeah, he's a little different. He's a little rough.
Oh yeah, but it is. But it is. Because think of it this way: everybody has something going on.
Right. Exactly.
We all have our own things, right? I have my own health problems. She has a couple too.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. That's how I think of it. But I have to care, and I am a little more empathetic, and I do care with I. Just kills me sometimes seeing an old lady crossing around the street by herself. I literally want to stop traffic and be like, let's get you across. Like, that's the type of person I am. But then I'm also the type of New Yorker where I don't know where this camera can see me, but I want to give the bird into a different way. And but that doesn't mean I'm not a kind person. It just means, like everybody in traffic,
he's the kind of person that
patience.
gives you the shirt off your back. If you need help with something, you're going to move your house, he's the one that's going to step up. That's the kind of...
Right.
There's a lot of times when you deal with, because we mainly are selling agents, we do deal with some very frustrating sellers. Sure. And a lot of times I want to tell them completely straight of what's happening and why it's happening. Or this is why your deal is failing because of what you're doing.
And we have so many years of experience behind us that we know how to tell people and advise people and guide people towards the finish line. It's all about the finish line. Yeah. We just want to get to the finish line because, I had a seller say something really, really odd in front of a buyer last week, and the buyer wouldn't make the offer, and it was so embarrassing. And I said to him after a week or so, I said, listen, I don't mind you being there, but there's a lot of other agents that'll ask you to leave the house. I'm not one of them, but I think it's time. Because I remember when my parents were selling their house, it was like 15, 20 years ago, and everyone would come through the house, and then they would get to that room where my parents were sitting and go, oh, so they don't feel like they're at ease anymore. But he was too at ease, and he said something weird, and the buyer just kind of I don't know. They got turned off. They definitely got turned off, and I said, you gotta move on. So one of my mentors, and we talk about training, I started going to training for a guy named Joe Meyer, who's now since retired. And I love Joe, and he guided me towards the company that I now work for, which was great. And I think that it was him that said, people don't care how much you know. You don't want to tell, it's not important to show people how much you know, but they want to know that you care.
Ah, ha, ha.
If you care, like the newest agent on the block, okay? You come to our company or our team, you can sort of hinge on our experience. I went from being a small little independent that had trouble paying the rent, and a big chunk of my money went towards paying the rent. That was a huge, huge obstacle for me. Then I finally just said, it's time. So I called
PCA, you're
up
talking
PCA
about.
Realty. I called up Joe Mar and I said, what do I do? He said, I'm going to introduce you to a company.
Well, I
They're
gotta
great.
ask you real quick though.
Yeah.
So from commercial, you at some point did you start residential first before you decided to leap into PCA?
Yeah, I was in residential from about 89, 88, 89. I was doing real estate with my sister back then.
Right.
And then we were
That
part-time.
was the happy place for you at the time.
Right, and I
You were
saw the
residential.
difference between still working in corporate real estate and being in residential. And I was like, this is really so much better for me.
Yeah.
I'm happier here. It's more of a better fit. So anybody that wants to work part-time, it's not the end of the world. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's really, really hard to
Really
be a
hard,
part-timer.
yeah.
You want to be a full-timer
Yeah.
if you can.
Yes.
And a lot of people do that transition. So when I got into residential, I saw the difference. And then I would say around 91 is when I started doing it strictly residential and gravitated away from commercial.
So what prompted you to take that huge leap to open up your own brokerage? By the way, what does PCA stands for?
Paula, Caruso, Annarumma.
Ah, nice.
PCA Realty. Yep.
Awesome. So,
Yeah, I didn't know what else to name it, so it's me.
So what? It's a big leap, right? It's and especially for our viewers that are looking to dabble into entrepreneurship, because getting into being a real estate agent is entrepreneurship, but then at the same time, it's a difference between just being a real estate agent under a brokerage versus, hey, I want to start my own brokerage.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about the thought process and how you got into it and what ultimately made you do.
Well, I already told you I'm a Leo, so Paula has to be the
Just gonna
boss
do it.
kind of thing.
The astrology
But
zodiac
yeah,
sign. Jesus.
but that's
She
my
wants to do it.
personality
Yeah, she
because
wants to do it.
could you see me working for somebody else right
No,
now?
you can't.
No.
You can't even listen to
No.
me some days.
No,
But
that's the problem.
that's a mother-son dynamic.
That's just something that I'll listen to you, but I may not like what you have to say kind of thing. But the thing is, I looked for 2 years for my location. 2 years right in my neighborhood, and they were my priority. My kids, they were still small. I couldn't leave them at home by themselves. I have to find a place where they can kind of hang out and be with me all day long. And I found that in the office that I'm currently in at Francis Lewis in
Right.
Flushing. So that's a great place, and that had high visibility. It was in the right place. It was
Oh, yeah.
between Whitestone, Flushing, Bayside. It was really centrally located. Perfect.
She took over my video game store.
Yes, I did.
Oh, it used to be a video game.
Yes, I did.
I wasn't
And
happy
it, and
about
it
that.
wasn't like, oh, for rent kind of thing. I searched out the owner, and it was somebody in the neighborhood who I knew, and I said, I want that store. He says, give us a couple of months. We have to clean it out because the guy left all kind. And that's what I did because I had the opportunity to go further deep into Whitestone. I said, I want to be like more here. This is better. So that was a big deal. So now I have this office, and everything was really good for a long time. But as I said, the overhead is a killer. So, and we have to advertise a lot in our business. So when you say that somebody, I want to just touch on this really quickly because our advertising dollars are the most important thing for any seller. Okay, that's what's going to help them get it sold, the most exposure, the highest price, in the least amount of time. That's our goal. So if I cut back on my advertising, for example, David does great drone photography, does professional pictures. If I come along, right, if I come along with my cell phone and take lousy or no pictures of your house, how is that going to help you? What are you hiding? So those are the people that really lose out because there's something called discount agents now in this world. And they are hurting their seller because what the seller is not realizing is if I'm not getting it in my commission, where is the money going to come out of? Advertising. And that's going to hurt you in the end. Okay? So there are a number of things that are changing in the business that it's too long of a conversation to go into right now. With agencies and all this and commissions, there's a number of lawsuits that are going on. The business is changing. Just like back in the 80s and 90s, we would have a book before the World Wide Web.
Right.
Yes, we had a book. It was this thick. It would come out every 2 weeks. Paula would run down to the multiple listing place and go and pick that book up for everybody. I love doing it. And
Did it have all the listings
it had
on
all the
That's-
listings in
right,
it.
Right. I think I remember that. They have all different companies, right? Like different kinds of books too. Like
No. This is the multiple listing
and
book.
okay.
Where all the
Multiple
listings
service.
were.
Right.
Now
I see, I
just
see.
imagine that there were no computers.
Right.
That's the world we lived in.
Wow.
So, and there were agents that used to walk around with little boxes, index cards of their clients. That's how we worked. We worked with paper. So now the industry changes and the internet comes along, and then you have Zillow and all these other things that really change the face of our industry. So now that everything else is starting to change, we have to change with it. So again, going back to the education, the systems, the team, these are the things that we really need to focus on.
Right.
Okay, so that, all of the things that I talked about, personal issues in 2018, 2017, I always call this business a roller coaster ride. Ride the roller coaster,
Yeah.
some up, some down. You're going to love it and you're going to hate it. And the challenge was personally that my father got very sick, and I'm the one that was taking care of him, and my financial business suffered as a result. But I have no regrets because I did what I could when I could for my dad,
Right. It's like
which is great.
It's like a debate, going on right now in the industry where it's like, okay, should you start your brokerage or should you just be your team lead? So it's like, a lot of pros and cons with having your own brokerage versus just being a team lead.
No, I
so-
would highly recommend against that. I meant
Against-
not having your own brokerage.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
it's
right. And
just
that's the
really
argument,
hard to be a
Right.
little fish in a big pond.
And liability, there's a lot of
The
liability.
liability is the killer, okay, because the Department of State, for whatever in their infinite wisdom, really wants to put us out of business. So there's a number of challenges. It's so hard to be an independent. I mean, we have a number of different resources that we can rely on from my company, and that's what's really big. And I did research a lot of people before finding the right fit. So, we have a nice commission structure. You do your job, do your paperwork, nobody's going to bother you.
Right.
That's the name of the game. You follow the laws, and that's what it's all about. Yet you got the team support to lean on.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the, you said 2014 when you decided to transition over? Would you say that was the most attractive to you? The kind of the I don't want to say deterioration, but like the benefits of being a broker just started, reducing, and seeing this opportunity with Realty Connect, that just an opportunity that you could potentially jump on. You heard it and you jumped on it.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
that was, see again, consistent with the evolutionary process, right?
Yeah, I know another small independent in the neighborhood that joined a franchise recently too, and totally changed his name, and I was like, wow, okay. And I realized he was a franchise. I have a real estate license in Florida, and I started to do the class a couple of years ago, and when I said, oh, I could be a broker. But the brokerage class was much more difficult and more involved. Why? Because in Florida, you're doing the contract, and there's no lawyers. You're taking the money, you're holding the escrow. So there was a lot to it. And I said to myself, am I ever really going to open an office in Florida? No. So I switched over to being an agent. So I have a license there, and I do understand a lot about the Florida real estate too.
So when you opened up PCA, David, how old were you at the time?
She opened up PCA when I was still a baby.
It was 99, so what does that make you?
I was 5.
Wow.
4.
Yeah,
Good pictures,
I
too.
wanted to add I'll put the information in the description of the episode. The Guinness Book of Records, the greatest car salesman. He's I don't remember the numbers. I'll put the link in the description to get the numbers. But he sells an astronomical number of cars. And when they interviewed him on how is this possible? How are you selling these great numbers of cars? He goes, it's very simple actually. It's easy, but it's not simple. He sends out postcards, but he sends out this incredible amount of postcards to advertise himself as a salesman, and just a far majority of them throw it away. But he's tapping into, the people that actually are interested and need the help. And him just getting out there like that got him into the position of being the Guinness Book of Records. And I think salesmen, just to your point, David, before, I think salesmen do get a bad rap where it's almost manipulative, or trying to get a person that doesn't need help to realize somehow that they need help, and then you kind of trick them into getting the business.
Oh, yeah.
That's not sales at all to me. Sales is reaching out to as many people as possible and getting an opportunity and giving an opportunity to help. And that to me is sales. That to me is like the heart of what true sales really is. Trying to make as many connections as possible and showing people that you are there to help if they need it. If they don't, people have all different ways of showing you, sadly, how they don't need your help. But if they do need your help, hey, aren't you glad you sent that postcard?
Right.
Or aren't you glad you called your old friend?
Right, and nowadays it's emails and texts.
Right, nowadays
Because
emails and
I've
text.
leased a number of cars through the years, and the one guy that's always kept in touch is still in the business, and I know his name by heart, and he'll send us the holiday greetings and the birthday greetings, and I always say, hey, Mike, go tell your boss to give you a raise. You're doing a great job, because that's what it's all about. It's just being a people person.
Yes.
So if you're shy, you got to get over that.
Yeah.
It's just things that you have to get over, because people do want to hear what you have to say. And if you know what you're talking about, it doesn't matter where you just started in the business. That's the whole key.
That's the whole key. Now I gotta ask you guys, can you talk a little bit about the dynamic between the two different generations? No, because especially for companies that they have kind of two generations working together,
Right.
more, or maybe more, maybe less, or even companies that are looking to hire a family member. Do you have any tips or advice or anything to look out for? I mean, there's clearly benefits, but I just wanted to talk a little.
There's also a lot of downside.
Not to harp on negativity.
Yeah.
But more so any tips on how to make that kind of intergenerational relationship work the most efficient as possible.
The family dynamic will be there, but then you'll realize how much different it has to be for business. I'll be honest with you, and she probably doesn't want me to say it.
Yeah.
We are butting heads every day. It's just our personalities. I've been doing this to her since I'm a child.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, if it wasn't this, he'd be giving me in trouble about something else.
I've been the black sheep.
him.
Listen, I've been the black sheep of the family my entire life.
That, yeah.
But I'm fine with that.
Right.
When it comes down to business, a lot of times, I get annoyed if I'll say something, but then she hears it from somebody else, and I go, I told you this 2 months ago. What are you talking about?
Well, that's the same thing. It works both ways. If it comes from
Selective
mommy, it's
hearing.
not as good. But when it comes from somebody else, their advice is so much.
Right, but recognizing that
Yeah,
essential dynamic.
you're going to have that.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
because you're a family member does not mean that it's going to be automatic listening.
Right.
You're going to butt heads. You're going to scream at each other. It will probably be harder working with family, in my personal opinion, than with a random company. But here's the thing. It's like a lot of my friends, they think that, oh, you work with your family, you'll get paid. Oh, no. I don't go to work. I don't get paid. I can't pay my rent. I can't pay my medical. I can't do any of this. So a lot of it is the butting in that aspect is we both are hungry, but with two different personalities, with two different approaches. So a lot of it is her very being catered and personal and like a pit bull grabbing on to any lead she can get. And I'm going, oh, don't be personal. That's too much. We can be kind instead of nice, like I said before, but I think when it comes down to it, I'm more of, so I want to, even with a slow year with higher interest rates, I think it's still more wiser to be slightly more picky about who you work with. Because again, my view is, and it's much different than hers, no matter how much money I make within my lifetime, I'm never going to get that time back. So me working, okay, a little bit of headache, some headache or stress, fine. This is a very stressful industry. Every day you will be stressed. So you gotta know that going into it. But no matter how much money I make in this industry, will never get me back the time. So I want to be a little more selective with the type of seller, the type of buyer. I don't care if you're very headstrong or whatever, but if you're a little bit flexible or malleable, I want to work with you.
Right.
Because that means you will take my consultation, you will take my advice. And then there are some sellers, I don't care if you have you tell me you have 100 years of experience in here, they will never listen to you. They don't care what the market's saying. The amount of research that you've done, they only want what they want.
Right.
And I understand the very touchy, emotional side of selling a home with some people where there might be a loss with a spouse, or they might be widowed of some kind, or a family thing going on. That's different. And I know that you might think, let's say you have a $1.3 million home, but then you think it's worth $3 million, right? I can't change that person's mind. There's a lot more time that needs to go into grieving and healing, and I understand that, and I can clearly see it, and I would want you to have that. Because me telling you what the real market value and you not believing me because of all these sentimental attachments, it's gonna hurt you more.
To your point, though, it is essential, pivotal to kind of know the person that you're bringing onto the team.
Right,
Because,
right.
I'm sure it would be counterproductive if you guys are arguing and fighting all the time, right? But versus what you guys just said, it's clear that you guys are a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
And I can totally relate. Like me and Jing have a similar dynamic as well, so it's
For me and her, if something happens and you gotta run to it, I'm the call. She's calling me. I'm quicker. I'm faster. I'm used to the emergency call. Not only have I done it for friends since I'm a kid, but
Well,
family
sometimes
members,
that's the point, because sometimes there's somebody standing in front of the house and I was away and they call me up and they said, all right, we don't want to lose these people. Let's get them in the house. If the seller's good with it, and he ran over there in 10 minutes because they were standing right there waiting to get in.
It's also been the times where there's some people
So-
go into the house that look like they're trying to case it, and then I'll show up
So-
too, but let's not get into that.
right.
Right. So that's the thing. I know that through the years, I've always seen the success with men and women teams, husband, wife, whatever it is, in this case, mother, son. It works.
You guys to have that foundation and experience behind you, because it's like, it would be an absolute waste of time if you don't stick to your guns and just go with whatever
Right, that's all
the
about
seller wants. Like the house won't sell, and you're kind of stuck with it,
Right.
and it's just a waste of everybody's time.
And then undercutting their price and we're going, no, that actually hurts us too.
Right.
In the form of commission and what we earn. I'm just showing you what the
data.
market and the data is
It's
saying.
all about interpreting the data.
Sure.
Okay, I didn't make this up. This is where the prices are. These are the houses you have to compare apples to apples to apples. Okay, and then sometimes they just feel like, they're the golden apple on the block. I'm the best house on the block. Everybody feels that way.
Everybody says that.
Everybody feels that way.
And then you have to navigate that.
Right, and that's the challenge. Really, I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm trying to educate you. I'm trying to show you these are where the prices are. This is the comparables. The reality of this market is, because the interest rates are rising, things will have to change. It's not changing right just yet, but it will. It will eventually change. So that's where people are starting to realize that their price may have to, come down.
Finally come down.
I have been through so many markets that are the challenge, and I welcome the challenges because, as you said, a lot of people will leave the business, and only the strong will survive.
Yep. Would you say that your success was due to luck or hard work? Or something else? Paul, you go first. What do you think?
Both. I was lucky enough to have my dad introduce me to someone who set up the appointment in the commercial real estate industry where I worked. So without that, I would have never even thought of going into real estate. So when people say that real estate is difficult, to me, this is a walk in the park compared to the way commercial real estate was for me back in '83. It was not easy. It was the hardest thing I could have thought about doing. And
How? How so?
because I didn't know anybody, I didn't have a mentor, I had no business basis, I had nothing to go on. So they put me in this office and they basically said, you're admin. I said, okay. And I had a secretary working with me, and I would see the commission bills that were coming through the office, and I said, I want to do that. I want the helicopter to land in the building of where I'm working to pick me up every day. That was my goal. That's what I want. And my boss would just look at me like, you're freaking crazy. Okay, you're nuts. But you have to have dreams and aspirations. Okay? I remember one of my agents that worked in my company, and I had about 100 agents through the door at any given time through all these years. And nobody really lasted. I can't think of one person that worked in my company that's still in the business because they really just didn't get it. Not everybody gets this business, how hard it is to really drill down and be diligent and give up some nights and weekends.
I mean, you say hard work, which is and you do say there's a level of luck, chance, happenstance involved. But at the same time, it's like there's so much that is involved in just that simple term of hard work. It's like a trade,
Right.
almost. It's an art. Being an agent is not a walk in the park. You know?
Right.
It's really so many skills that you're fine tuning, and everything that you had mentioned before is essential to being successful. Having a coach,
Right.
looking to evolve, looking to establish systems in place. There's just not enough time in the day.
And persistent.
And then open-minded to
Yeah.
almost like the creativity, creatively open-minded.
Right.
To see the possibility, because hey, that buyer who recommended the for sale by for the FISBO, like it could have just went over your head. But no, but you creatively made the connections. Hey, I'm gonna meet that person.
Right. Like, how many no's? Somebody says no to you. Do you go back and ask them again a different way? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How many no's does it take to get a yes? 6. I have been on sales things in front of with mainly cars, and I'm sitting there under the table counting 1, 2, 3. No, my husband's going no. And at the end, where he said, "We are not going to buy a timeshare. Just remember that we're going in just for the $150 credit or whatever." I went,
Yeah.
okay. And in the end, guess who was signing first?
Right.
My husband. But I am not afraid of somebody saying no to me. And don't forget, it's just business.
Yeah.
And if they don't like me,
Not personal. Right.
I don't care. Okay? Because one of the worst upsetting things that ever happened to me was when I was in commercial real estate, and a guy blamed me because the deal didn't happen. Really? Who do you think wants this more than you? Right behind you. Me. I want to get paid.
Yeah.
I want to get paid. And he accused me of whatever, and it was stupid and it was petty, and of course it was not true, but it upset me, and I never want to let anybody see me cry, because I turned around, I had a glass wall in front of me, and I turned my chair around, spun around, faced the window, and I was hysterical crying, and I said, that will never happen again. So if somebody is ever nasty to you, whether it be personal or business or in a restaurant or I don't care where, just say, excuse me, I'm sorry. My ass is on fire, I gotta go, and I'm out of there. Because I'm not gonna let somebody upset me. I'm not gonna let somebody belittle me, because I am worthy of more. And if you believe that in yourself, it'll come through.
I love it. That's the Leo in you talking.
That's
You
it.
sound like Jim.
That's it. That's it. And I hope that rubs off on him too. Because
She won't let me do what I
sometimes
would normally do. A lot of times, and I'm sure you've dealt with it too, you get people who are just, for some reason, they think that to get the business or to get what they want, throwing it at you, acting disgustingly, almost bullying in a way, even though the term sounds childlike, they think that that's how good business, if not business, should be done. And let me tell you, I don't let that happen.
Right.
There's
one in the neighborhood that we know that was so derogatory to me on the phone a couple of months ago. Still has his house in the market as a for sale by owner.
I told her ahead of time, don't
And
ever
he
call
knows
them.
about this guy,
already
and
know
I
who
said,
they are.
after I talked to him last time, I said, I don't want to do business. That's the best no you could say. My husband always jokes around. He says, sometimes you make more money saying no. And it's true.
But I feel like a lot of times when people in business act like that, even if they are successful, it's because they haven't met anybody that will fire back at them in a way.
down.
See, I don't need to curse you out. I don't. I know how to speak in such a way where I'll hit all your little points.
Right.
Because I think there's one thing that people don't realize what they need to do this job. They need to be able to read people. Within the first 2 minutes, I'm trying to read you. I want to know what your
Right.
personality's like.
But you need guts. You need guts to go out
Yeah.
there.
She holds me back from doing what I would like to do.
Oh, yeah.
because
He's
she
got
thinks,
plenty of guts. I'm
she
the one
thinks
that
that I'm
sometimes
going
need
to
that.
kill the deal. When I go, no. Being direct and blunt is not rude or dishonest or whatever you might want to call it. For instance, we had another group of people come in that needed some type of real estate service from us. And I go, I'm going to be very honest with you. I will not sugarcoat this for you. You are against the clock. You are living with the idea of a fantasy world that was previous generations. You need to come to reality here. And what that's telling you is you don't have much time. You have to be more flexible, more open-minded with where you'd want to be living.
Right.
Because there's not much here for the type of real estate that you want.
Right.
We have to go somewhere else for
Right.
that.
And if they don't get the answer from them, now they're calling me and they think they're going to get a different answer.
And I was, but that's
The
something,
answer's the same.
but that's how I would talk to somebody in the way of whether they just don't get it, and just more of a direct approach works.
Yeah.
But I'm not throwing it at them. I'm being
Brash.
Yeah.
Being assertive and to the point.
direct and honest.
Just the facts,
So-
ma'am,
right,
kind of thing.
right,
It's just the
right,
facts.
Exactly.
Versus just like being brash, where it's just this like, I don't care what you think. I don't care, if I'm offending you.
Yes.
Right. Like you still have that kind component.
I had to very directly but nicely say, listen, what you dealt with in the market 15, 20 years ago,
No, 37.
37,
37 years ago.
is not the norm now.
They don't understand.
I need all this information on you.
Right.
And they go,
Don't
well,
get
we
it.
don't want to give you our address. I go, I have your phone number. I already know where you live.
But Dave, I gotta ask you, luck or hard work? What do you think?
10% luck.
Okay, so
It's 10% luck.
A little bit of luck, everything.
It's all about what you're willing to do. And if, for instance, there's, I've been doing almost 10 years. She's got the 40 years experience. There's still things that I feel like I'm just horrible at in this thing. I gladly admit that. I will always admit when I'm wrong. Or if I feel like that I'm right, you better prove me. But give me the detail. I'm not going to be one of those stern people where I'm going to shove what's right, that I think is right, onto you. I think it's a lot of hard work, and the frustration of being in this industry is that there's so many things that you have to be good at to succeed in it. You have to be good at the sale. You have to be good at the pitch. You have to be good at the marketing,
Interpreting the data.
the data, building, constantly nurturing the people that you've done business with.
Deal.
And that's why a lot of people who have multi-million whatever companies, someone else's main job is to do that, to send out those little greeting cards, to make those phone calls to their past customers and clients, and to check in on them, because that's a personal touch.
Yeah.
Because a CEO of a company who's overseeing the whole thing does not have the time for that.
Right.
But we do. We have to make it happen.
Right.
90% of it is the hard
Sometimes
work.
you hear about companies or teams that do hundreds of transactions.
Yeah.
And they're not the hands-on type that we are. We are still a very hands-on. We're going to hold your hand from start to finish. I always said that was like kind of
Literally,
my
we will
thing.
hold your hand if you
Do
need me
the whole
to.
thing.
I do a lot of her designs. I have a background in photography and a small background with design. So her bus ad or the cards or whatever goes out, I'm on the computer for a few hours, or depending. Oh, I want all this. I go, that's too wordy. No ad agency in the city with a billboard has a paragraph and a half. Let's make it pop. Let's make it legible, and then let's make it so that you want to see it.
Fussy
I
about
do a
things
lot
like
of different
that.
things just besides the selling.
Yeah.
So I do a lot where you won't see me,
Right.
and it's just every day of that.
What drives you guys currently to continue to succeed? I guess the secret sauce. Is it a person? I don't know. I'm just saying. What would you say gets you excited to get out of bed in the morning? Paula, you want to go first? What's your secret sauce?
Listings. Just to get listings, really, that's the bread and butter of the business. And as I said, I did it the opposite way, which I think is mainly the way most agents learn the business, which is wrong, of course. But if I took on a new team member who was new, I would ask them to go and show buyers houses, and that's how you learn the process, because you can't just step into the door of someone's $1.5 million listing and expect to be an expert.
That is
It's
not
not
how
gonna
I learned,
happen.
trust me. They will have an easier time than I did.
Yeah.
She goes, oh yeah, we got this $1.1 million house, go show it. I go, I'm day one right now. What are you doing? And I had to learn on the fly very quickly. I did not get special treatment
Well, that's
being
the
her
thing.
son.
Like I said, when you come out of real estate school, you get your license, what do you really know? You don't know anything, because you really don't know how to negotiate. You can't understand the multiple listing to begin with. And the whole, the MLS, the multiple listing system is just a challenge in itself. So the more that you can learn on the downtime, after hours, when it's slow, these are the times when I really, August was very slow. Typically it's slow. The last couple of years during COVID, it was not. So that's when I really embrace education and really dig in. So with my coaching group, there was a virtual summit. I could have been in Dallas in 106-degree heat and chose not to. So I watched it for 3 days from my office, and it was great. So I got the benefit of doing all that, and plus the residual of watching it again and again. if I wanted to, but that whole ecosystem has tons of training, which I can share with my team. So that's where an agent is going to succeed on a team rather than fail. So my secret sauce is getting out there in front of my clients. I like the idea of
Continuing to grow in a way.
right
With the
and
time.
right because don't forget I worked from my house for about 7 years, and that made me completely crazy. It's too distracting. Having some people do like to work from home. I do not. I like to work from my office, and it's just a process and a system every day. If you don't have that structure, you lose it. So that's where COVID was really, really stressful for us because we couldn't go out and work. We couldn't do anything, but we were working every day. How? We were on this ecosystem where we were learning every day. We had a whole bunch of virtual webinars and things just to educate and grow. Okay, what are we going to do when we get out there? When we're able to get out in the field, this is how it's going to be. And we had to retrain ourselves with pricing and all the other things and masks and shoe covers. I never want to go back there. It was horrible. If people were afraid to go into other people's houses, and I get that. That was a very real threat.
Of course.
Where people were dying, and my husband got very sick from COVID, so I know. So this is something that we were able to overcome, and that was probably the worst thing that ever happened in my career anyway, that challenge. But as far as what we do every day, it's getting in front of our clientele, letting them know. Before I started to say we were PCA first, we opened the office, and until I opened that office, people would say to me, "Are you still in real estate?" I'm like, "I've been in real estate for 23 years, or whatever it is at the time. I'm still in real estate. Yes, I'm doing real estate." So I had to remind people all the time, if you're not in the market of buying whatever, a mug, and you don't remember that you can go to whatever store to go and buy it, until you see that ad in front of you every day, you say, "Oh, yes, I can go and get that over in Target or Crate and Barrel," wherever you want to go. So that's the whole thing. You don't need it until you know you need it. Okay, so that's the thing. You want to stay top of mind. How do you stay top of mind? By continually touching people through emails, text, advertising, offering them stuff, just staying in front of their face. And that's
That
how
itself
we
is a skill, right? Like
challenging.
one of those.
That's how I've gotten repeat business
Yeah.
and referrals.
Yeah. What about you, David? What drives you? What's your secret sauce?
Of success, I don't think I'm successful. Well, at least, yeah.
Nobody that's successful thinks they're successful.
I don't. I'm not what I'm doing or where I want to be. And then in the way of to get there, it is. My drive is a little different. It's more like if I don't get up and move, I feel like I haven't. It's hard to explain for me because it's almost primal in a way. It's like if I can't breathe. So I hate that I can't do anything. I don't like sitting still for long. I do like to relax, but that's a difference. And I think if you aren't willing to just go out and do certain things, I'm always, for instance, this job, it's not a comfortable job. I feel uncomfortable in everything I do for real estate. And I think that's something you have to get used to. I don't like doing the calls, "Oh, how you doing?" I don't like that. I want to be in and selling and showing. It's somewhat comfortable, but still uncomfortable. And it kind of does feel like a need to live. That's how I feel. So I get very angry when I feel like the market's slow, or it's that time of the month where everybody goes away, or that month where everybody goes away, and now just business naturally is slow, and I feel like I'm starving. That's how it is for me.
Right, and
that's
I used to feel that way.
Yeah.
But that's when I, like you say, hunker down and really say, okay, we're going to dig into our database. We're going to dig into training and education, or read a new book that inspires me, because I need to be inspired, and I need to be motivated. I think we all do, and I think that's what he's talking
that
about.
self-growth, that evolution, that...
It's not only that, this allows me to do the things that I really want to do. I don't mind real estate to a certain point, and that's not to talk bad about real estate. I do this for a living every day. But it allows me to do the things I really want to do. There are plenty of people who make a lot of money with a job or a company that was never their first choice. But now, because of that freedom, like for instance, what real estate will give me freedom in a lot of things. And those people who have those companies or those products or those jobs, maybe, they are allowed the freedom to do the certain things they want. And also, not really have to worry a lot about their bills.
Right.
I mean, given, I'm going to worry about my bills every day of the week because I don't rely on her for anything.
Right.
I don't rely on her for money, no job, no nothing. Like, I'm here because it pays my bills and it's what I want to do at the moment because everything else won't pay as good.
Right.
And that's the truth of it. So I come in every day. If I don't want to come in because I think, because I like the game and I have a $2,000 PC and it will work better than what's at her office, give it to me. I'll take care of it.
Yeah,
I don't have to leave.
Doesn't
I
bother
have
me.
all the internet in the world. I have a fast PC. It performs. Let me do the task. I can get it done faster than you. I know I can. So sometimes I might not have to leave the house, but I still get to be able to work and drive. And then I won't feel like I'm going as crazy.
I love that. So, plans for the future. So, what's in the horizon for you guys? What's in the horizon for Team Paula and David?
If it was up to me, within 10, I'd probably have her out of the state or country.
That's
Finally
not gonna
relaxing.
happen.
Finally relaxing. You know what I mean?
No
So
relaxing.
retired. But
Yeah.
I don't really know. There's a lot of ways this industry can go with the current, say, climate that it's in.
Right.
There's a lot of things happening right now. And we definitely can't speak on it yet until a little more settles.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen with the business, but we're definitely in a flux sort of environment right now because of the class action lawsuits that are going on. And it will change the business, and then they have to just figure out how they're going. Department of State will guide us and say, listen, this is the way it's got to be, and we'll just learn something new.
Right.
I would like to grow the team more and, be able to establish more of a client base, because I think that every agent brings something great to the table. You know?
And with a team like you guys, so super personable, supportive, experienced, I can totally see, agent working from you guys can truly gain a lot from, this kind of an energy. But David and Paula, I don't know how else better to end it than that, I'm going to leave contact information along with the descriptions, how to find David and Paula, amazing agents, amazing team leads. So if you're an agent, if you're a buyer or seller looking to, buy a house, sell a house, or even looking to join the team, they are a jewel among the rough, so to speak. So thank you so much, Paula,
Thank
David.
Thank you
for
so
coming
much.
on.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Hamilton.
ya.
Thank you to you and Jim.
This episode is brought to you by Jing's Mortgage Team. Jing's Mortgage Team is a team of real estate mortgage professionals whose mission is to help anyone with their real estate needs. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, refinance your home, have credit issues, or in need of an investment loan, we can definitely help you. If you're looking for a real estate agent, we know the best of the best real estate agents. Visit the link below for more information.